Hello, everyone. I am Parul Gupta, work for Bureau of Indian Standards. So it's a government agency. So I'm here to talk about more of, the standardization part of the e-commerce. It's a bit different. We have been talking a lot about the industry and how industry is functioning. So let me take you a bit, away from it and talk about a little something we've not talked yet. So what is standardization? Why are we even talking about it? Why are we here? And is it even relevant? So standardization is something, in simple terms, you trying to document all what it is there, the best practices. It's more of an academic pursuit. You can have frameworks, guidelines, requirements of certain processes, entire processes, bit of processes, products. So Bureau of Indian Standards had been traditionally dealing with standardization in products. Recently, we've ventured into services. Services, as we can see, e-commerce has become one of the major, sector where you have to, cater about, consumers, customers, as well as industry. So why e-commerce? We've talked enough about it. Many of the speakers talk about the potential of e-commerce already. I don't have to repeat the, statistics, but yes, young demography, increasing internet and smartphone penetration, and relatively better economic performance are some of the key drivers of e-commerce. And we hope to, this is going to go ahead, 350 billion economy, 2030. So we've already have that statistics, with 830 million users. India is the currently second largest internet market. So obviously, e-commerce is going to be here in different, forms, phases, different processes. When you talk about the entire supply chain, every day there is a new business model, which is, coming up. Q-commerce, your live streaming. Every day there is a new commerce, and there are so many, things which are coming up with the new processes, new regulatory things, new requirements. So yes, e-commerce is going to be there, and rather is at an nascent stage today, where only 2 to 3% of the retail trade is being catered as of today. So yes, we'll talk about it. Then this is again all that literature. The fast evolving commercial environment requires comprehensive and well-considered solutions from all stakeholders to manage the unprecedented growth in volumes and to address the lack of global standards and guidelines. Something we've all been talking about. Lot of obstacles are being faced by e-commerce users as well as facilitators today. So there's a total dearth of guidelines, frameworks, solutions which are documented and can be referred even by the small players. There are, when we're listening to the entire discussion, there are players who are relatively young, 2, 3 years old, 5 years old, 10 years player, you can call them the old players over here in this context. But yes, there are so many companies which have, recently started, and maybe having those documents, those, those letters, those frameworks, guidelines can help not only the consumers, but as well as the small players who do not have to invest energy, trying new permutations and combinations, trying for a solution. It's a ready-made referencer they have in hand when you have such guidelines. So this is the importance of standardization. Having those ready references, referencers in hands, where you're looking for solutions and problems. So, we've tried to list, a few of the conventional obstacles which are being faced by the e-commerce industry in India. For example, how to assure and validate identities of the suppliers. Supplier validation, which has come into fore. Lot of things which has been happening. And supplier identification, validation is one of the problems which are, faced by platform providers, facilitators. Information requirements for commodity quality should be presented on e-platform. How to assure that product quality is satisfactory to how to protect consumer rights. Any consumer, any e-platform facilitator wants to ensure, wants to encourage the consumer protection. Everybody is trying to find out a way to give their best to the consumer. So this is one of the major problems which is being faced by platform providers. Weak internet infrastructure, unstable communication network, deceptive information, misleading advertisements, lack of clear and sufficient information on both identity and location of traders, drip pricing practices, uncertainty, all these things, back and forth they're coming in, spurts, in processes, in, this is something which is happening. So what happened is Indian National Strategy for Standardization, Evolving a Quality Ecosystem, It was released by Ministry of Commerce and Industry, Government of India, stressing the importance of standardization even in the e-commerce sector. In that row, government recognized 12 champion sectors which can be taken up for standardization. Information technology and information technology enabled services, IT and ITES. So this is one of, other 12 sectors, medical, transport, tourism, accounting, audiovisual services, communication, legal, construction, environment, financial services, and education services. So, e-commerce essentially falls a part of IT and ITS-enabled services. So in BIS, we have a division, Scope of Service Sector Division Council, under which we have a committee called Retail, E-commerce, and E-payment Services Sectional Committee, SSD11. So how does it work? The idea is we are not a direct contributor or the person who is engaged in e-commerce activity. So how does BIS functions? BIS functions by the most obvious way, by engaging the industry, how to go about the standardization process. I'll give you a very live example. When we recently published a framework on managing online reviews, and which has been published by consulting all the major players in the industry. So this is, more of a consultative process, which is very transparent. We, offer invitations. People come on board. We have discussions over the potential topics, the potential requirements, frameworks, guidelines, whatever you feel like. And then the entire process is gone. In the committee, you can have various subcommittees, panels on specific topics. So this is a very consultative and very interactive process. So I'll, because of lack of things, so to, go through that example, I'll just take you through the recently published document, which talks about how you manage online reviews. So online reviews is something which has become, painful as well as a big opportunity for all the players. It's, I would rather call it as social proofing. In academics, they call it social proofing, reverse marketing, anything you want to term it as. It's essentially a communication channel. All throughout the speakers, they had been, trying to have this customer engagement, communication, marketing. So online reviews is something which has emerged as one of the most powerful tools for engaging, customers directly. So, the document has a scope, provides requirements and recommendations for the principles and methods for review administrators to applying their collection, moderation, and publication of online consumer reviews. The document has been segmented into 3 parts: the collection, the moderation, and final publication of the consumer review. So these are one of the few essential vocabularies you can look at. Consumer review, consumer experience state, review author. Review author is essentially a consumer or the acquirer of the product who has actually given a review for the same. Unsolicited review, solicited review. There have been a lot of discussions about why we need solicited review. So solicited review has come, one of the powerful instrument where especially a new product launch, small players would engage with their customers in order to understand their experience about the product or the service. So this is one of the important tools. Unsolicited review is common. You simply, the consumer, the review author simply goes and types in his consumer experience. So these are the, major, these are the major guidelines or, principles around which the entire document is circulating. Integrity, privacy, transparency, security, accessibility, and accuracy. Accessibility has become one of the major questions. Everything is there in place, but the consumer cannot access it. It's not there on the website in the plain sight. So accessibility has to be ensured. Even if the entire process is there in the place, if you do not make it accessible, it doesn't count. It has to be visible. Accuracy, obviously, we're looking for an accurate thing. Responsiveness against consumer engagement. You have to be responsive about every feedback. I was going through a research where they've been telling 80 to 70% out of the online purchase, when they read the online consumer review, you would be surprised to know. Knowingly, unknowingly, unconsciously, we keep on going through online reviews unless we come across that one single negative online review. We are not wired to understand that how can it be 100% good. So unless we have that one negative review, we are not convinced. And we keep on browsing to reach up to that point where can we actually have a negative comment, and then we convince ourselves, okay, there is a balance and this looks real. And obviously social proofing is there. All the people, all our consumers, we tend to believe the fellow consumers rather than the company. They're the best channel of marketing. Word of mouth, they used to call it in the traditional days, where, all our mothers would set in a garden or for a walk and would spread it through word of mouth. This is new word of mouth, nothing else. This is digital word of mouth. So, again, we're talking about that document, these culture code of practice and terms and conditions are there, it's there in the document. The collection process, again, has been divided into 3 processes: pre-submission, submission, and post-submission. This is minimizing bias and fraudulent reviews, where we've tried to say you cannot publish a purchase review, but then there's a difference between a purchase review and a rewarded review. So a clear distinction has been made. Responsibility of the participants have been recognized very clearly in the document: review author, review administrator, and what is the responsibility of a consumer review, the date, a total rating. All these things have been given very clearly in the document. The moderation process, the second process, again, there can be 2 types of moderation process: your automated, your manual, depending on your volume and the scale of business. And you have an option to go for either of them or both of them, depends. Obviously, the industry is already doing it. So these are, performing analysis and the outcome of analysis, automated moderation, manual automation, time limit. These are all variables which have been given very clearly in the entire document. The moderation process, generally talks about, whether you reject that or you accept it. And when you accept it, if there are some additions involved, you refer back it to your review author. You cannot edit it and just publish it. The publication process, again, it's about content is approved at publication and after publication. The very, very important feature which has been given is here, I'll just here flagging a review on containing illicit or inappropriate content. A 360-degree flagging has to be enabled, where anybody can flag a review to pull the attention of review administrator, either by the supplier, the consumer, or review administrator himself. So this is something which has really made it a very transparent and very active, dynamic thing. When you're able to flag any review by anybody, in order to pull the attention, so this is something we really look at it. So yes, this is something good. So in all, when I want to say why you want to go for such documents and why you want to go for such things, so I'm going to split it into 2. For consumers, credibility. You often hear, companies, I am a ISO 9000 certified company. So even if I'm a small player, it builds in that confidence with the industry, with the consumer, that I am undertaking that minimum set of requirements which are being taken by the larger and established players. So credibility is something very nice. And the other set of other than consumers, the industry, it's like hand-holding with the government. Smaller players are being encouraged, accuracy, transparency, efficiency, anything you can name. And the best part is cost saving and the time saving. So yes, this forum, I would like to request you to participate more in such activities by the government initiatives. Just send in your requests. We are all here. We would love to hear from you. Thank you.